So there's some family offices, there's some other syndicators like us, and we're in the $12 to $50 million space as far as acquisition price. And, I don't see any of those names on there like BlackRock or, the big money Wall Street companies quite yet. And sometimes you see those trickle into these deals.
So what are you seeing? What is your gut feeling for opportunities and where they're going? Maybe it's back to what you just said before. Is this what you thought it would be at this point? Obviously it's taking longer. I mean, what is your take on just actual deals that you can buy that make a lot of sense right now?
Yep. So last year was extremely slow. Gotten a lot of best and finals where they got all the offers in, and the sellers decided, you know what, we're not going to sell. We don't like any of those prices. So I wouldn't say they weren't serious sellers, but they didn't have to sell. They hadn't made the decision, we're going to sell at market rate. They sort of said, we'll see what we can get. And if we can get a great number, we'll take it. So now we're seeing more deals in the market, nothing like, pre-interest rate rise, but we're seeing sellers that are planning to sell. So, it's going to best and final, and whether we win or don't win the final bid, it's transacting. And we're seeing a pretty robust competition as well for these deals. We just missed out on a best and final on Friday that we thought we were very competitive on. And someone came in with a relatively big number. But we're not seeing as many institutional players. So there's some family offices, there's some other syndicators like us, and we're in the $12 to $50 million space as far as acquisition price. And, I don't see any of those names on there like BlackRock or, the big money Wall Street companies quite yet. And sometimes you see those trickle into these deals. So I do think that there's a value right now in that, some of the bigger players are being cautious. So there's an opportunity to get a good basis, but it's certainly very competitive.
Good. What are you seeing as far as the cap rate interest rate spread? You said you missed out on that deal. Maybe you can share some specifics, right?
Sure.
How many units was it? What city was it in? Right? What kind of condition was it in? What was the going in cap rate? What was the pro forma cap rate? Right? And what was the ability to raise the rents, kind of that spread? And what was the interest rate that you guys were going to borrow at? Just kind of walk me through some of those stats if you could.
Yeah, sure. So it was a 312 unit that was about 40 minutes outside of Charlotte in a great area that had nothing in the pipeline. So it was well located between an industrial center and Charlotte, and it had nothing in the pipeline for the foreseeable future. So there's a good demand. The property was interesting. It was built in between 1985 and 2005, so in two phases. So there's sort of an older phase, kind of a mid 80s to early 90s phase, and then a late 90s to 2000s phase. And they had integrated it relatively well with, architecturally. The property had well below market rates, and all of the units across the board were all classic, meaning, kind of old style interior finishes, brown wood, beige countertops. So there's a big value add play, just getting rents to market and doing interior renovations. And overall exterior CapEx was not too bad. It needed maybe half new roofs, needed some porches fixed. It needed to have a full rebranding and kind of sign package to pull it all together. It felt a little spread out and almost like, am I driving through a neighborhood here, or is this a complex? So it needed to get a sense of cohesiveness. So the rate we were looking at was, we were assuming a 4.5 loan for the next 8 years. And then we're going to put a supplemental on top of that at 7.5. And then the in-place cap rate was 5.65 on a T3, T12. So the last 3 months of income and the last 12 months of operating expenses. And we were underwriting to a year one cap rate of 6.75. So there was actually a negative spread. If you lump those two, the supplemental and the primary loan, I think we're all in at a blended rate of 6.25. So in this case, the cap rate was lower. The in-place cap rate was lower than the blended interest rate. However, we were going to pass it after year one.